Every single moment that you don't make an attempt to take a step forward, you are failing. The only thing that we can ever truly lose in the pursuit of growth is time, and time is a precious resource that you can never, ever recover from once it's squandered. Welcome to the Dynamis Podcast, where we are all about unlocking a fruitful life, removing your limiting beliefs, and getting to the next level. My name is Tim Gurule, and I'm stoked to grow on this journey with you. As David Geffen says, we are each the figment of our own imagination, and some people have the greater ability to imagine than others. Welcome into the Dynamis Podcast, guys. My name is Tim Gurule, and if you're just listening for the first time, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what this show is. This show is all about building financial freedom so that you can ultimately unlock philosophical freedom. And philosophical freedom is where we launch from to fight for the things that we believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. The goal of this show is to show you a pathway to interview millionaires, go and get advice from those who are much further ahead in the game than us, glean information from them, break it down into an understandable, consumable way, and to take massive action. I want you to get to a place to where you have enough courage and security from repetition to go out into the world and fight for what you believe in. And you can do that. You can have that philosophical freedom by first achieving financial freedom. This is achieved in a couple key phases. Phase one, financial freedom. Let's take care of your food, your shelter, your housing, that basic dynamic that makes you not have to squander your life away, getting in the car, fighting in the rat race to be provided for. That gives you time to carve out what I call philosophical freedom. That's where you have the ability to start, understanding what it is that you believe in, what's worth fighting for. What do you believe is worth fighting for? And the third phase is going off and doing it, but it takes phases to unlock. And we talk to millionaires, business owners, countless individuals to help us deconstruct that success and figure out a way to get there. I never want you to make decisions based off of money. I don't want you to bend the knee to do something that you don't want to do because of money. Okay. We need to be forward facing and kingdom building. Just as a quick background on myself, my name's Tim. I spent a early portion of my life as a special operations soldier. I deployed multiple times around the world during the global war on terrorism. I got out to go work for the federal government. I became a firefighter. I worked, for a city for about 7 years. I was a firefighter and fighting the good fight, serving the community. I worked at the state house as an intern for a state representative. And long story short, as I was a firefighter, worked all the way through COVID, got fired for not getting a vaccination, and dove headfirst into continuing to build passive income streams so that I never had to compromise my beliefs for a paycheck. And my goal is to just break down that blueprint and give it to you so you can come along as well. I want autonomous, strong individuals and Americans to fight for this freedom, preserve the freedom that I love so dearly, and we need to hold on to it. So welcome to the Dynamis Podcast. If you've never had an introduction to who we are, what we're doing, that's what it's all about. So today, I want to talk to you guys specifically about the corridor of opportunity. At the end of the week, I kind of look at my calendar and I ask myself, who did I talk to? What impact was made? What information did I glean? What problems did I solve? And I look at all that information and I do a end of the week kind of summary of success or not a success, right? What forward momentum did we make? And today I want to talk about this concept called the corridor of opportunity. And it's something that was really put onto my mind or in my span of reference from a really good friend of mine. He sent me this social media video talking about the corridor of opportunity. And oftentimes when we jump on the phone, we really talk about how, where we are today, we could have never predicted we would have been before we started. And that in summary is what the corridor of opportunity is. And I'm going to break this down very systematically. It's going to be a quick down and dirty episode. Before we get into it though, I do want you guys to know, if you want to text into the show, if you want to get on our email newsletter list, if you want help with, optimizing social media in your business, if you want access to the show, if you want a strategy session for figuring out how to get financing to, grow passive income streams using residential real estate, look at your, investment accounts, whatever it is, you have a pathway to do that. Text the show's text line, 833-455-4368. I'm the one that directly responds to that. Please, guys, leave us a review if you are listening, if you get good information from this show, if it makes an impact on your life. Subscribe, leave us a review. Don't forget to reach out, 833-455-4368. If you are in the local area, if you're in the local Washington, Tacoma, Olympia, Seattle area, at least that's where I am for the time being, we have a local investor meetup. It's totally free. It's the first Tuesday of the month, and I will send out a newsletter and a text reminder. We meet in person. It's totally free. It's a great room. We have people who have done hundreds of deals, all the way down to people who have never done the deal. They're just looking for their first bit of action. Come get in the room. Text me, text the show Pints. I'll get you on the newsletter. I'll get you on the text campaign, and we'll get you involved. And lastly, if you're looking for a good deal and you're just having a hard time finding access to opportunity, maybe you're looking for some private capital for funding, whatever it is, text the show 833-455-4368. Text the word deals, 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 833-455-4368. All right, let's talk about the corridor of opportunity. I see so many people frozen in place. They're literally stuck in inaction. And this happens for a couple of reasons. I think namely the main reason is that most people simply just don't feel the pain of their inaction enough to justify the movement. They're just comfortable enough. They come home from work, maybe you're in your mid 30s, early 40s, whatever it is, whatever phase you are in life, you're just kind of in this rut. You come home, you have a routine, you're kind of tired, you don't really want to work out, you crack the beer, you sit on the couch, the beer belly grows, it's okay. I heard this excuse the other day, my wife looks at me the same way, whether I have a six pack or, a beer belly. And all I could think to myself was like, what a crappy excuse for an existence that is. Like, is that how you want to live your life? Like, you're justifying this rut to yourself. And I'm not saying specifically about fitness. I'm just saying life in general. And I think when you realize the lost opportunity cost of all the time that you're leaving on the table, all the time that you're wasting, when you really look at the opportunity that's in front of you and available to you, you can design a life to be anything that you want it to be. And when you look at little metrics like how much time you spend on your phone, how much time you honestly think that you squander and waste day by day, and then you assign a monetary value of what is your time worth. If you were to go to an employer right now and they offered you compensation, whether it's an hourly or salary rate, okay, whether or not you would accept or decline that job. And you would accept or decline that job based on your intuition of what you think your personal time is worth, okay? If you were to take that dollar amount and assign it to the lost time that you apply to your life, let's just do screen time alone. The average American is, depends on age demographic, but Gen Zers, they're spending 12 hours a day on screens, okay? As it gets up, millennials and boomers and so on, the screen time, it kind of evens out between 6 and 9 hours a day. But imagine, apply that hourly rate that you have, assigned to yourself, prescribed to yourself of what you think you're worth, and all that squandered time and inaction and Netflix and just sitting on the couch, assign that a value. Now, play that value out for the next 12 months and then play that year out for the next 10 years. And you would be shocked to know that you're potentially missing out on millions of dollars of opportunity, which sounds insane, but it's completely available to you. And I think because that pain isn't rubbed in your face, it's not highlighted, you're not motivated to take action. The second biggest reason I see is that people literally have too many options to make a move. They're surrounded with paralysis analysis. There's too many ways that they could go. And I myself suffer from this. I'm in the phase of what should I do? Because I've opened up this corridor of too much opportunity. And now it's like, okay, what is the shiny thing? And what do I need to put my blinders on to get really focused and go down this hallway aggressively attacking this one thing until it compounds a snowball and I could pour into these other things. I see people start a bunch of different little things and really get nowhere because every little new lane that they venture into, it removes resources and reallocates it to these new lanes. You can have a couple lanes, but just be conscientious that every new lane that you venture down, it's going to pull resources from your main lane and it's going to reallocate them into these other lanes. And if you want to get really good and aggressive and powerful in such a way that it compounds and grows exponentially, you really need to really dig in and pick one or two things that you're going to go all in at. And a lot of people, they're stuck in inaction because they have too much optionality. Well, I could flip, I could wholesale, I could, pursue RV parks, I could, whatever it is, buy a business, start a side hustle. And before you know it, you're looking at all these opportunities, which could be fruitful and lucrative, but ultimately you just need to pick one, double down and go all in. And here's why it's so important to double down and go all in. The greatest disservice that you could ever do yourself is to stay in one place. At the beginning of this episode, I talked about the corridor of opportunity, and here's the best way that I can explain it. Imagine that you're like in an old high school, one of those old school high schools you see in like the 80 movies, like the Breakfast Club. Okay. Long corridors, lockers on every, wall. And there's maybe a T hallway. You take a right, there's more doors, whatever it is. Before you enter that school, you might be able to look through the window and see down the hallway, but you can't see around the next corner. You can't count how many open doors are in that corridor. The only way you know how many doors are open or shut or locked or windows are closed or whatever it is if you simply start walking down the hallway. The further you walk down the hallway, the more revelation you have of, oh, holy cow, I didn't even know that this door was here, let alone it's open and unlocked for me. And hey, wow, this is a great fit. This room right here, or here's a right-hand turn. Just like in special operations, when you're doing room clearing and you're executing over and over and over and over and over again, you could sit outside and mission plan all day long, but you literally have no idea what's going to unfold until you start walking down that corridor of opportunity. And you have to take those opportunities as they present themselves. Action leads to rapid iteration and refinement. You try, you fail, you refine, you try again, you implement, etc., and so on. The faster you take action, the faster you have this revelation of, oh crap, that didn't work. But guess what? I learned this new thing and now I'm going to implement that new thing. And by the way, because I did this thing and it didn't work, I also learned these 3 other things. And so now I have a rough idea of what's next. Okay. Rapid iteration from action leads to refinement. The more that you do this, pretty soon that you're weaponized and you're far stronger and more capable to handle new adversity that lies ahead. And here's like a really good example generationally that I could give. Now, I'll preface, I'm not a video game guy. I didn't grow up playing video games. My parents didn't let me have them. So I'm going to do my best to not botch this example. I have played video games a few times, and here's what I remember. Okay. In the early video games, at least what I remember, there was like a boss on a level. Okay. And at first, it's like impossible to defeat this boss. You die and you die again and you die again. But eventually you defeat that boss. And this weird thing happens after you defeat the boss. In subsequent levels, when you have to defeat that first level boss again, just to get to the next level, pretty soon you're able to do it faster and faster and faster and faster until that first level boss that took you so much time to overcome becomes a complete non-issue. The more you play, the faster you fly past that first boss to get to the next level. You have to take action and start that iteration to become weaponized to be able to fly past that first level boss. You can't possibly predict the doors that may be open down the hallway and out of view unless you just start walking. I would have never predicted after starting a conventional mortgage business that I would fall into the opportunity to be the bank and place private money, my own money, on investor loans. I would have never guessed that would have led to raising capital from my network to place those loans cross-collateralized, or even better, make connections within my network and get paid for connecting money with opportunity. Yes, you heard that correctly. I literally made a handshake and was able to capitalize on that handshake because through my network, opportunity came, capital was met, I made the connection, and boom, there was a benefit to everybody involved. It was mutually beneficial. When I started a mortgage business, when I started marketing, when I started the podcast, when I started doing conventional loans, never in a million years would I have predicted that that would have been an open door down the corridor of opportunity. Never. You cannot see it. You can't see around the hallway until you start taking action. And it just becomes clear. You have these revelations as you get further and further down the hallway. It becomes clear to you. I started a meetup and a podcast to help people learn from my mistakes and to connect with others on the journey. That led to opportunities literally coming to me from people that wanted to work together with me simply because I created the opportunity for that to exist. You cannot predict those events. You cannot see open doors until you start walking down the hallways. The biggest lesson I have learned on this journey so far is that the biggest mistake that is the most difficult to recover from is simply wasting time stuck in inaction. You don't need a crystal clear plan to know all the steps. You just need to start forward progress as soon as possible. I know it sounds nuts, but when you come up short and you try again and you get a little further, that is not a failure. What that does is stack a tiny little micro win. And when you're asking yourself, what are you capable of to do bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger things? This amazing thing starts to happen. you start to look at this stack of undeniable evidence that is behind you. This undeniable evidence from a stack of micro wins that you have built up, and your confidence begins to grow in accordance with that undeniable evidence of what you are capable for. Tim Ferriss had this awesome quote on his Instagram the other day, and I think we should just leave with this because it's given me a lot of thought to chew on. And it says this: life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Well, courage doesn't come from just this overnight epiphany of like, wow, I'm brave. I'm going to go, David didn't just fight Goliath out of nowhere. It was this micro submission to God over time, continuously, that built the strength. You don't just go in the gym and max out on your first attempt. Daniel wasn't just thrown into the den of lions courageously. He wasn't just born courageous. He didn't just wake up and say, oh, this is the moment, now I'm ready. No, it was faithful submission over time and repetition. It was, that muscle that was built up slowly over time that led to his courageousness. And what I'm communicating to you is that courage doesn't just spawn from nothing. It comes from iteration. It comes from time. It comes from consistency. It comes from action. And I would encourage you, take action, because the corridor of opportunity that lies ahead of you is so much more fruitful than you could ever imagine it could be. You just can't see the opportunity until you start walking down the hallway and clear the fog. So with that being said, let's go. Let's be courageous. Let's take that first step forward, and let's all journey and fail and iterate together. Let's do this together. I hope this was helpful, guys. This has been my takeaway from the last week. We will catch you all on the flip side. See you next week.